Okay, welcome in iPad number 3. Kind of makes me think of like, and behind door number 3, would you rather have what's in trunk number 2 or door number 3? And interestingly enough, only people around our age would have any idea what that reference is.
Yes.
So,
No.
I feel pretty good about it. Hi, iPad 3. So, yeah, in fact, today on the radio, they were talking about the greatest game shows of all time. Unfortunately, that one did not make the list, Monty Hall and his crew, but that was always a good one for me.
So, Mike, just finishing your point,
Yes,
then, so you'd have to have 3 separate iCloud accounts for the 3 of us.
That's
right?
correct.
And only assign their devices to it.
That's correct.
Okay.
100% right.
Now,
So,
the iCloud, if we have our own password, our own email,
yeah,
right, which is our Comcast email
yeah.
account, we could still use that for iCloud. We don't have to have a separate.
Well,
email.
what I'm suggesting is each person have a unique email address that
Right.
is their iCloud account.
Does it have to be separate than your normal email address?
No, can be the same.
Okay. Okay.
Like, for example, mine's Mike Scarra 0@hotmail.
Right.
If you want to email me there, that's fine. The whole purpose of the use of the email address is if you have an issue and you don't remember what the password is, they can send the password to that email.
Right.
So it really should be an active email to which you can receive emails.
Okay.
Because if you ever lost it, you wouldn't, you'd
Right.
need a way to reset.
And it keeps it simple.
That's correct. So here I am, I'm at iCloud.com, and I'm going to log into my account. Now, one of the things that iCloud does, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's asking me, are you sure it's you? I said, yes, I'm sure it's really me. So I have to put in something called two-factor authentication. Wow. So I have to type in 750 182. Trust. Done. Okay, so as Jerry mentioned, one of the things that iCloud does is it has this feature called Find My iPhone. But it's more than just your phone. It's literally any Mac device that you own that has this iCloud account on it. So what it's going to do is it's going to look up all of the devices that are associated with my iCloud account. It can be one, it can be many. If we're ever to finish, now you don't have to be on your own computer to do this. It could be any computer in the wide world. Say, for example, you've lost your phone somewhere, and you want to locate it. So at the top here, these are all my Mac devices, and you can see I have many of them. This one's my computer, this one's my watch, this one's my phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my phone. So I hit on Mr. Orange, that's the name of my phone. My favorite color happens to be orange, has been for decades. And you can see, I don't know if you can see, but let me stop this real quick and start it back up again so you can see. So that's where my phone happens to be. It happens to be sitting on my hip. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to zoom in. And that is, in fact, my house. So it's got to be somewhere in the house, but I can't locate it. But if it's not in the house, it will show you where it is. And that's very helpful if, for example, a coworker of mine left hers in the back of a rental car. So we were able to track it down in New Brunswick where she had rented the car. So what I'm going to do is I have 3 options over here on the right. One of them is play sound. So I'm going to hit play sound. And my device is now ringing.
Huh.
So the point is that regardless of where you are, if you have another device, any computer in the world, doesn't even have to be yours, you go to iCloud.com, you type in that email address and that password, and it will make a sound. And that will work whether or not the ringer is turned on or off. So it will override the ringer being silenced. Very helpful. Again, I always like to use things that actually happened. My wife could not find her phone one day, and we turned Find My iPhone, on, and it took us 20 minutes to still find it because it was in a pocket of a bathrobe behind the door.
Wow.
So it was somewhere in that. Like, it's so muffled. It must be downstairs. So we went downstairs. I don't hear it. You went back upstairs. It's here somewhere. No, it's got to be like. So it was behind a door in a bathrobe, but it kept ringing until we eventually found it. So that's the least intrusive thing, is the play a sound bit. The next piece over is lost mode. Let's just say it's nowhere near you. What you can do is you can lock it remotely, and you can remotely put a telephone number at which you can be reached. So that way, that number will come up on the phone and say, this phone is lost. Please call this number to return it to its rightful owner. And it will automatically lock it remotely. So that's an extra level of security. And it allows people to know to whom it actually belongs. I'm not going to do that, but that's the next step over. And last but not least, if it's somewhere where you will never be able to recover it, you can actually remotely erase it. So from least intrusive to most intrusive, this is a very useful, powerful feature. And as I mentioned, all of the devices I've ever owned are in this list. So it's all associated with one device. The reason that's important is this, as Louise was saying, is if everything on this list, see the green bubbles mean it's on, if they're all on one iCloud account, all of the items will synchronize with each other. So if I get a text, I get it on the phone, I get it on the watch, and I get it on the computer. But they all have to be associated with the same iCloud account. How do I do that? I hear you asking. I'm glad you asked. I will now show you. Okay,
Mike,
yes, please go ahead.
just before you do that, I just was wondering, you mentioned that you could use Find My Phone for anybody's phone.
That's correct.
So how would that work?
Well, the person needs their Apple ID and their Apple password.
The person who's looking for their phone.
Right. I can't just randomly. Louise, I just can't randomly find yours.
Okay. All right. I misunderstood.
No.
Okay.
This is why you ask. If you knew what you were doing, you wouldn't be here. So don't feel weird.
Yes.
I want you to ask questions.
Okay.
Hey,
good.
Mike.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, before you go. So staying with Find My iPhone, this is probably why I had it all on one.
Okay.
And why I only use it for that. So to that point, we have family members. We're going to set up 3 different iCloud accounts, which will, and the Apple ID will be our, like say, for example, my Apple ID is my regular email address. Okay. So, it's a Comcast email address. Okay.
Sure.
And then I have a password associated with that. Now, the way we have it set up now is, I think I use the iCloud for saving stuff, but I've assigned my daughter, my wife's iPhones, and our iPads to it. Okay, so to rectify that, I still could use Find My iPhone, right? But on the 3 separate iCloud accounts,
that's correct.
We could just assign their devices or specific devices to each one of them.
That's 100% correct.
Okay, and if I want to find my daughter's iPhone on my iPhone, I just would type in her ID.
100% correct.
I
That's
got
100% correct, Jerry. Thank you.
Why didn't you tell me this 5 years ago?
I'm sorry. If we had known each other, I would have helped out then.
That's okay.
That being said, now what I want to do is, in fact, exactly what you're talking about. How do I go about ensuring, as Louise had also mentioned, where do I go on my iOS device, my phone or my iPad, to ensure that I have the right accounts? So again, I want to remind you, in my little world, my Apple ID is MikeScara0@hotmail.com. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the screen and I'm going to do it live. So if you would, take out iOS device, please. Turn it on and unlock it. Now I know, I forget to whom I was speaking. Somebody said, would it be detrimental to do the work on my phone while I'm taking the class? And this is going to be the slightly harder bit, because you may have to flip between doing it and seeing me at the same time. But I'll do my best to verbally describe it to you as well.
I think I had emailed you about
that was you, Louise? Okay.
And it wasn't my phone, it was my iPad, because I'm Zooming on my iPad.
Oh. Well, you have another device, and the good
Yes.
news, Louise, is 98% of it is the same.
Oh, okay.
The main difference between an iPhone and an iPad is this. The iPad is much larger, and the iPhone makes phone calls. Other than that, for all intents and purposes, they're the same device.
Oh, okay.
So everything I show you on here,
Okay.
it was very, and I will point out the minor exceptions when they do occur.
Okay.
Okay, so iOS device, go into settings, which is like the gears. And I hope you note at the very top, it should have your name. That's the iCloud device. Someone's got a bird. That's the iCloud account that's associated with that device. Is that a bird or is that someone's device?
Oh, it's a bird.
Oh, wow.
It's a bird.
That is one loud bird.
Yes.
I don't care. It was weird. Interesting. Okay. So whatever that you see mine says, there it is. It says Scarab.
Yes.
So whatever device, whatever it says here, that's the iCloud account that's on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap right on my name. And I hope you can see that my account is in fact that same email. That's how you can tell what iCloud account is associated with that device. See, it's even the same picture. So, Jerry, in your case, I'm going to guess that all of your devices, your wife's, your daughter's, and you all have the same email address here.
That's correct.
Yes.
And that's why they're synchronizing with each other. Because for all intents and purposes, the iCloud account thinks it's all you. It's all one person.
Right.
Because you can have as many different devices as you want on one tool.
Okay.
So, again, and if you scroll down a little bit, you can actually see all the devices that are associated with that account. So I'm going to guess, Jerry, that you're going to see all the devices associated with that account.
Right.
So what we're going to do to make everything nice and fun is we're going to go, there should be about a third of the way down a button that says iCloud. Could you find the setting iCloud, please? And this is going to represent for you how much storage your device has available on what's called iCloud. iCloud is also a storage facility. So my phone every night and my device every night, they get backed up to iCloud as long as iCloud is turned on. I don't know if you can tell, but I have 50 gigabytes worth of space.
Wow.
And I'm using about a quarter of it. They give you 5 to start. But because I have so many devices, I pay, and I mean this facetiously, a whopping 99 cents a month for an extra 45 gigs. For me, yeah, it's not expensive.
No.
For me, it's worth it because every night my device backs up. So if for some reason it fell out of my hand and shattered while I was getting on the bus, or I dropped it in the sink, which I will admit I did when I had my iPhone 3S. I did do that. Because my stuff backs up every night, I could restore it as if it were this second at any time. So you want to make sure that that is not filled, because the device automatically backs up every night as long as it's got more than 50% battery, it's on Wi-Fi, and it's plugged in. That's a nice feature. So anything you want to back up, and I back up everything, should be flicked on green. So my calendar, my contacts, my photos, my Safari. However, if you don't have enough space, you can turn off individual things. For example, I live off my calendar. It really helps me keep, oh, there's somebody coming in. It really helps keep me on top of my life. However, hi iPhone. If I just had just too much stuff, I could turn off just the iPhone stuff, and then I could regain some space back. So my suggestion to you is turn all of that on.
Calendars and all the stuff, okay. I think I took some off because,
You're probably out of space.
yeah, probably 5 megabytes.
Right, because 5 gigs is really small across
Right.
multiple devices.
Right, but for 99 cents a month, God.
I hate to spend other people's money, but I think that is a judicious buy.
Right.
I think, 2 cups of coffee over the course of the whole year, especially if you're a Starbucks guy, don't get 2 and there's your $12. I only say that because my son now works for Starbucks and everything's $1 zillion. Yes, ma'am. Who said so?
Mike, it's Dale. Just to clarify, is this 50 gigabytes per month, or that's in total of the? That's per month, right?
No. Well, it's 99 cents a month.
Right.
And you get 50 gigs for however many months you pay.
Well, that's what I mean. So it doesn't renew each month to 50 gigs.
It is, yes, ma'am. You get 50 gigs every month.
Okay, got it.
But
monthly.
It does cost you 99 cents.
Yeah, I have it. Mine says 11 of gig. So yeah, so but I was thinking it was for the life of the device. No, it's each month you get 50 gigs. Okay.
Each month, and then you got to pay the 99 cents.
Yep, I've been doing that. Thanks.
Sure.
Hey, Mike.
Yes, sir.
So on my phone, then, I think we have all our devices because of that. But if you have a device that you no longer use, say you traded it in or whatever, can you like edit the devices on here and rename them?
I'm going to go back in 1 second to do that, Jerry.
Okay.
So here we are again. We're inside of iCloud, and I'd like for everybody to make sure that it's about 3/4 of the way down. You're looking for something called iCloud Backup. Please make sure iCloud Backup is turned on. That's the feature that backs up your device every night. If that isn't turned on, nothing's going to work. Please ensure that that is on.
I have a question. Mine was off.
Okay.
And I just turned it on and I got a message, start iCloud backup. Your iPhone will no longer back up to your computer automatically when you sync with iTunes.
Okay. You're asking, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Okay. There are 2 ways to back up your device. One way is through the cloud, which was what we're doing. We're saying every night when you're not using it, if it's on Wi-Fi, it will back up to this synchronization service called iCloud.
And you said it has to be plugged in as well.
Yes, I think they recommend 50% or more battery.
Okay, so
it won't back up. But if you're plugged in, when it reaches 50%, it'll do it.
Okay, but it would back up without being plugged in if I have 50%.
As long as you have 50%, because they don't want it to go flat in the middle of the backup because that'll corrupt it.
Gotcha.
So that's the most common way, and it's the least user you need to do nothing. There is another way to do that. And that would be physically connecting your device, your phone or your iPad, to your computer. And the computer has to have a piece of software called iTunes. And if you have iTunes and you plug your phone in, it will automatically back up.
Okay.
However, that is reasonably intensive because you have to go to your computer, you got to plug it in, you got to open up iTunes, and it will do it.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you. I recommend it's just easier just to do it this way and let it back up to the cloud every night.
Okay.
I will admit that it's slower. It doesn't, like, if you backed up to your computer, it would take about 5 minutes. Overnight, it might take as much as 60 minutes. But if it's 2 in the morning and you're already asleep, you probably don't need your device anyway. So I always recommend iCloud because you don't have to remember to do it, and it does it automatically for you. So it won't be like, oh my God, I haven't backed up in 3 weeks or a month, or for many people, 6 months. Everything is gone. That's the worst, to me, that's the worst feeling in the world. I hate the everything's gone feeling.
Yeah.
And most of us, if you've worked with computers long enough, that's happened to you at least once. So I don't want that to happen to you with your device if I can help it. So I strongly recommend turning on iCloud backup and turning on iCloud in the first place and making sure you have enough space. Like Dale, you've already mentioned, you have the 50 gigs each month, so you should have plenty of space. However, if you're like Jerry and you have 3 or 4 or 5 devices on a single account, you might run out. So you have 2 options: either increase the space, or I'm recommending break them apart so you don't get each other's stuff.
Right. I'm gonna do both.
Your question is, how do I do that? Well, I'm so glad you asked, Jerry. We're going to do that. In fact, you had asked just before. Once again, I go to settings, and once again, I'm going to tap on my name. And if I scroll down a little bit, I can see all the devices that I have synchronized on that iCloud account. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select a device. And it will say to you in red letters, remove from account. And I will say yes. And now that device is no longer in the list.
So this would be, Mike, after you, or first of all, you do that if you have some old devices on here.
That's correct.
Or, but I would first set up separate iCloud accounts on my wife and daughter's phone, then
That's
remove
correct.
them from my phone.
That's correct.
Okay. And could you also, at the same time, on the ones that we do want to keep on the phone, can you edit the description? Like some of them have
Oh, sure.
an old model.
It's an old name, sure. Well, you can't change the model.
Right. But
You
for
can only-
example, my wife has, on one of mine, it says Chris iPhone 4, but then right below it in small letters says iPhone 7. It really is a 7.
Right. So you can change the name. What you do is you just kind of tap right on the item, and it will allow you to, it should allow you to change the name. Although it's not, you may have to do it on the device itself.
I see.
Yeah, it won't let you do it here.
Okay.
But
So you would do it on her phone.
You have to do it on the phone itself, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And the way you do that is also under the settings. Under settings general.
Right.
Settings general, and then about.
Okay.
So as you can see, my phone is called Mr. Orange.
Right.
These days, I feel I have to explain that. I'm a volunteer pacer for marathons, and they always have us wear orange to show that we're pacers. And I've been doing that for the last 20-something years. So that's how I kind of got the name. So everyone buys me orange things now.
So Mark, just a quick aside, Mike, I used to run marathons.
Oh yeah, which one?
I ran New York 6 times and Montreal and Yonkers. But I'm an
Oh my
old guy.
God. Yonkers is the worst race.
It's the toughest one, and it was in a thunderstorm.
You and I will talk after class about that terrible marathon.
Absolutely.
Anyway, So anyway, so we got our settings, and once again, we have iCloud, and that is how you remove things and how you essentially ensure that devices are being removed from your list. Last but not least, at the very, very bottom, you can hit sign out. So, Jerry, these other ladies in your life, they're going to have to sign out of your iCloud or the iCloud you're using at the bottom to completely remove themselves from the account you're currently using. This is also the technique you will use, all of you will use, if you were ever to turn in your device, your current device, either you're selling it, you're recycling it, you're giving it away, whatever. Signing out of iCloud is the way you wipe it. That way it's not associated with you anymore. Never, ever leave it on, because then you're leaving traces of your life behind on this device. Now, it's going to ask you for your username and your password here. So again, so if criminals have acquired your phone, they want to wipe you off of the device they've stolen, they can't do it without a username and a password here. But that said, when you go to give it away or to erase it or whatever, you want to sign out.
Okay.
So when you sign out, when they sign out,
Yes, sir.
what we're talking, just to finish this up, they would sign out of the existing iCloud account, which
That's
is
correct.
my iCloud account.
That's
And
correct.
they would do that before I set up a new iCloud account, their own iCloud account on their
It doesn't
phone.
really matter the order, Jerry.
Oh, okay.
You can do it before or after. The only caveat I give is I wouldn't leave any device too long without some iCloud account on it. So you can make a new iCloud and then associate the device to it, or you can get rid of the current one, make an account, and then associate it. It doesn't really matter the order.
Yeah, okay,
But I
gotta
do
do it at the-
recommend each person in your life have their own account. Otherwise, you're going to get mixing like you've already experienced.
Jerry,
Go ahead, Dale.
just a quick question. How do I know what type of phone I have? It says iPhone 8 Plus and 6 Plus. I'm not sure which one this is.
Well, we're going to find out. So here I am on my device. I'm going to go in the third group. It says general. You're looking for general. It should be the first thing in the third group.
Okay, hold on.
Take your time. We're not rushing anybody.
Yeah, I see general, yes.
Okay. Get on general, please. And the first one is about.
Yes.
So if you scroll, like the third thing down should say model name. What does your model name say?
iPhone 8 Plus, okay.
There you go.
So I'll remove the 6 off of this phone. I'll remove off of the iCloud.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Because that's not this one.
Right.
Now, I'm also glad we're here. Thank you, Dale. I appreciate this segue. You also may notice just above that, or just above that, it says software version.
Okay.
You want to be on version 13 point something.
Okay.
The newest one is, I think it's 13.3.5. I haven't gone to 13.3.5, because there was a little feature that I wasn't a big fan of, that there's rumor they're going to remove it in 13.3.6. So I'm kind of waiting to see what happens. I generally don't recommend that. I generally recommend keeping your device up to date, because the up to date means that it has the latest security parameters on it. Over the course of time, no software company ever comes out with a perfect product. Hey, kitty. No software company ever comes out with a perfect product their first time out. It just can't happen. So what happens is they come up with new parameters, new code, new software. And that's why you get, version 2, version 3, version, in this case, 13.3 point whatever. What I recommend you do whenever possible is keep your device up to date. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back one. See, it says next or general. I want you to go back one in the upper left-hand corner to general. And the first thing under about says software update. Could you please select software update? And what it will do is it will check to see if there's a new version, and you can see that my device has a new version. There's a new version to install. And there it is, 13.5.1. And what they generally do is they kind of explain to you what the new feature is. Now, I will tell you that they don't explain everything. So there says the new feature is called Memoji stickers. I have to tell you, in my life, Memoji stickers doesn't mean a lot. For some people, I guess Memoji stickers would be something important, but it doesn't mean anything to me. That said, the same with your iCloud backup. It will not do the update unless you're at 50% battery and plugged in. It won't do it unless you're plugged in, because it's typically very processor intensive.
Okay.
And they don't want the update to fail halfway through, because then you have trouble. That said, 99% of the time, I recommend doing the updates. This particular time, I'm not going to do it until they come up with a fix, but that's a very few and far between situation. So we've talked about iCloud a pretty good deal. That's the very first top one. And in there, we did a whole bunch of things, including how to synchronize, or in Jerry's case, to not synchronize, and then how to ensure that the device backs itself up on the regular. Because if you ever have a problem, you can always restore. Now, I've done this because, like I said, I made the silly mistake of dropping it in the water one time. Even the Wi-Fi backup, like restore, that should take you less than an hour. If you had a physical backup on the computer, it would take about 10 minutes. But again, for me, it's such a pain to remember each night to plug it in. I just don't. But you want to have something. You don't want to have, you don't want to walk a tightrope without a safety net. You don't want to drive a car without a seatbelt. You don't want to have a phone without a backup. But, and we also, for Dale's edification, we wanted to figure out what model we had. So we went to general, we went to about, and we also talked about the software update. That said, there are a lot more things in the settings that I want to talk to. And one of those settings that I definitely want to talk to is the thing called Do Not Disturb. It's in the second group, probably the third. So we're under settings. And the second group, there's a setting called Do Not Disturb, and I want to talk to that. So would you jump in there, please? It looks like that. So it's settings, the second group down, Do Not Disturb. It is exactly what you think it is. You have that turned on. No phone calls are going to come into you. No text messages are going to come in. Your email will not notify you that you have new emails. That's beautiful. Go ahead, Susan. Thank you. Go ahead.
When you have Do Not Disturb on, if somebody is trying to call you, does it notify them in some way that don't get in touch with you or?
No, but I'm so glad you said that. Thank you. So, you can't buy segues like that. Thank you, Susan. What happens is, if you scroll to the very bottom, it says that if a person called you a second time from the same person within 3 minutes, they will not be silenced.
Okay.
So that means is, if it's really, really important, they would hang up and call you again. And then it would ring.
So it just lets the person know, basically, if they don't call again, they would, if they want to, either send you a text or a voicemail.
Mm-mm. Let me be clear. Do not disturb turns off everything.
Right.
So
Right.
they would have to leave you a voicemail, yes.
Okay.
Or you would your device would receive the text, but it wouldn't alert you. You wouldn't get that bing, or you wouldn't get a little thing in the corner.
Okay.
Like I got a phone call before, if you remember, I have that little number in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
If I have my do not disturb turned on, I won't get that.
Mm.
So if you're in the movies, whenever that happens to be, or you're at dinner with your family around the dinner table, you could say, okay, everybody go to do not disturb. We do that because around my table, we always talk about various zany things. Oh, I got to look that up. That seems wrong. So we have them with us just to prove, like, Dad, you're an idiot. That doesn't make any sense. Like, that's my son. No, Metallica didn't play Las Vegas in 97. They played in 98. No, I'm sure it's 97. But the outside world doesn't jump in. And everyone has different rules. Some people say no phones at all. But we kind of like rely on it for fact checking. That said, I'm a big believer in the do not disturb. Additionally, my line of work, as you might imagine, I work in the IT field. I get calls all times of the day and night. So what I did is I have a little slider called scheduled, meaning even if someone calls me from 1 o'clock in the morning to 4:30 in the morning, my phone will not ring. Even I need a little sleep. So between 1 and 4:30, you can't call me. Anything that's an emergency at 1 can wait till 4:30. At least that's my opinion. So a lot of people have a larger time frame than that. 11 o'clock, you can't call me. I'm off. I'm done. I'm going to bed. Please don't bother me. I need my 6 hours, 7 hours, whatever it is. So I have mine scheduled, and I'm a big believer in this scheduled. As an aside, what you also can do is you can set it for, there's something called time shift, visual shift. That will also change the color, which I'll talk to in a little while.
Hey, Mike.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, we have the same issue around dinner time, or if I'm golfing and I'm getting all these texts from my friends from the Y, and these other people I'm golfing with are giving me dirty looks. So I usually like lower the volume on it. I'm always afraid of turning it off altogether in case there's an emergency from the family. But I usually use then the side button, the button on the side to turn it off. You're saying it's really better to use the do not disturb.
Again, I'm giving you options.
Right.
So, for example, there's actually another feature called allow from.
Oh.
So where mine says allow calls from,
Right.
if the people are in my favorites list, they're not subject to the rules.
Okay.
So Susan was saying, like, if it's an emergency, if it's a family emergency, like, I have a very short favorites list.
Okay.
My favorites are 6 people. My wife, my brother, my best friend, and 3 coworkers. They're on the VIP list. They're on the favorite list, meaning they're not subject to the do not disturb list. So like you were saying, Jerry, if it's something really important, they're probably on the favorites list.
Right.
And Mike, how do you set up a favorites list?
Oh my goodness, you can't buy segues like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my phone. So if you would hit the home button to get back to the home screen. So here I am on home screen. So I'm going, and there's several ways to do this. I'm going to show you one. In fact, I'm going to try to do the one that's going to work every time. Give me 1 second. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pick, all right. So if you would, here I am on my phone. I'm going to pull down just a little bit from the top to get the search feature. This is something I wanted to talk to anyway. If you pull down just a little bit, you have a box where you can type things in. This is called universal search, meaning whatever you type in here, it will search every nook and cranny of your phone. A phone call, a text, a website, a picture, whatever. What I'm going to ask you to do is search for the word contacts, C-O-N. So I type in that box there, C-O-N. And in the list is this option called contacts. Could you please open and select, select and open contacts, please?
It says contacts and then contacts privacy.
Well, just open contacts for now, please.
Just contacts, okay.
And here are all the people of my life. I'm going to pick, I'll pick Tom, or I'll pick Ann. Okay, so here are all the people. I'm going to tap on the name of the person who I want to make a favorite. So I'm going to pick my friend Ann Clifton. And it gives me all the information about Ann that's in here.
Add to favorites there.
Righto. Almost at the bottom, you have add to favorites. That person now gets a special place on your list. It's going to ask you, well, what? Her phone number, her texts, or her what's called FaceTime. So it's not every way she contacts me, it's a particular way. Generally, I do phone calls because if it's an emergency, they're probably going to call me. But you pick. I'm going to say call. So now, Ann now lives in my favorites.
Cool.
There she is.
Huh.
So to see your favorites list, I'm at home screen. I go to the phone. I go to the phone icon. It's the green one with the white. Now this is a phone only feature, and it's the one with the star. That's favorites. So these 7 people, or let me rephrase, these 7 ways to be contacted are now not subject to the do not disturb rules. Their attempts will always come through as normal, whether you're on do not disturb or not.
Excuse me, Mike. When I went onto contacts, it's not giving me a list. It's just saying contacts, Apple ID, and iCloud emergency contacts. Wait. It's not giving me a list like you got to your
Okay,
contact.
well, so we're going to do it a different way, Susan. So there's a second way to do this if you're having a little trouble here. If you would, go to your phone app and pick not favorites, but recents. So these are the people who have recently contacted you.
Right.
To the right is a circle with an eye, and yeah, I'm pointing to my eye. What a schmo.
Right.
The eyeball. Yeah, good one, idiot. The eyeball.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can scroll down to the bottom and make that a favorite. So I'll go back. So let's just say Rob Nixon called me.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I hit the eyeball.
Okay.
Be careful not to actually call him because I just did. He's going to call me back in a few minutes. What happened? And you scroll down a little bit and you can add them to favorites that way.
Okay.
So some people don't have a big contacts list.
Okay.
Frankly, I've been using the iOS for, I don't know, probably 10 years now. There's people in there who I have never talked to in probably 8 years. But my contacts list is not something I really care enough to clean up.
Hey, Mike.
Yes, sir.
So what happens to, I don't know how they got there, but I never spent the time removing them. I have people in my favorites that, and it could be my sisters, whatever, but I could just as easily look it up. But there are things that I want to remove. How do you remove a favorite from the favorite?
Man, I love these segues. What you do is you go to the favorites list,
Right.
like so. Upper right-hand corner should be the word edit.
Yep.
When you hit on edit, they have little red circles with minus signs.
Yep.
I tap on the minus sign. It says, "Are you sure?" You get a delete button. Yes.
Now, it won't delete the contact. It just deletes
No,
it from favorite.
sir. It just makes it no longer a favorite.
I got it.
In the upper right corner again, I hit done.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you that most of the time, that's how iOS works. There's usually an edit in one corner, which is to remove, and there's the plus sign in the other corner to add. Honestly, they're very smart in their design. The design almost always works in the same way. Edit over here, which is to remove or change in some way, and then there's the plus sign to add. Another thing you can do, on the left side, there's the red circles, but on the right side, it looks sort of like 3 lines. That allows you to tap on one of the 3 lines and rearrange the order. So I can tap and hold and drag up and down, and that rearranges the order. So Chris had been number 3, now he's number 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap just on this little 3 lines on the end, drag up, and now Charles is 2 and Chris is 3. And then when I'm done, I hit done in the corner, and now the red circles are gone. That's almost always how this works. There's plus to add and edit to adjust in some way, either to delete entirely or to rearrange. That's pretty standardized stuff. So Jerry, that's how you remove favorites. And I'm going to guess that some of those favorites aren't your favorites. They're someone else's favorites because your world is completely synchronized with the 2 other people.
Right.
So my mother-in-law is probably a favorite on my wife's phone, but it wouldn't necessarily be a favorite on mine. She's lovely, but I don't call her.
Okay.
So those are some of the things that are in the settings. There's 1 or 2 more settings that I do want to talk to. And one of them is, again, so I go to the home page, I go to the gear settings, and in the 3rd group down, there's a setting called Control Center. Could you please select Control Center, please? And then I want you to choose the feature Customize Controls, please. Here's what this means. Control Center is a fast way to get to the most commonly used tools. So in my world, for example, I use the flashlight all the time. I use the camera all the time. I use the stopwatch all the time. But some features like the hearing aid one or the do not disturb while driving, I don't use very much. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to show you how to customize where certain things live. So the ones that have the red circles are the ones that are in Control Center already. These are the ones that I use the most, and you might use different ones. So just like I was showing before, Jerry, if you have a red circle, that means you can remove it.
Right.
If it's one you want and you don't have, you would tap on the green and that would put it at the top.
And where do you tap on the green? Oh, you use the lines on the side?
Yes, sir. On the left side, for example, if I want to have guided access, I tap on it, and now guided access is in the top group.
Okay, so I have right now on mine, it has, what I like to include is flashlight, because I always forget it where to find it, but it has a minus sign on it.
Okay, that means it's already in Control Center.
Okay,
So if it has, it's sort of like a light switch. If it's
Right,
already on, you can't turn it more on.
right.
So I've been called that many times. Thank you. If it has a green, you can turn it on and bring it to the top. But if it's on, you can only turn it off and bring it to the bottom.
I see.
Now you might say, well, why do I want to do this? Why do I care? It's because these items that are part of Control Center are very easy to get to. You don't have to search around the device to get to them. So if you have a phone like I do, if you want to get to these commonly used tools, you flick up from the bottom and there they are. So as you can see, I have those 8 buttons across the bottom. Those are the ones I use most.
Okay.
So you can see, like, I have the stopwatch in there. You might not have stopwatch. I have the flashlight. You might not. I have the calculator. I have the camera. So
Now, how do you get to that, what you're showing us? How do you get to that? Because I see it.
if you have a phone like I do,
Right,
you
yeah.
flick up from the bottom.
Ah,
If you have an iPad,
yep, I got it.
if you have an iPad, you flick from the upper right down.
Right.
So again, this is an iPad and iPhone class. If you have a phone, you flip up from the bottom.
Okay.
Also, if you want to get to Do Not Disturb real quick, you see the crescent moon? That's Do Not Disturb.
Oh,
And Mike, where did you say it was on an iPad?
If you're in the upper right-hand corner,
Upper right?
you kind of press and you pull down.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
in the handout that I sent earlier this evening.
Okay,
That specific thing I knew I was going to talk to. It talks about how to do it.
great,
I've
thank you.
never seen this before.
Woohoo! I'm glad I showed you something.
Oh, boy, okay, I never seen
Yeah.
that.
And this way you don't have to, like, again, these are the ones that I use, and I use them a lot. So instead of having to, like, go through it and find it, I made them easy for myself.
yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Another one I use a lot is, like I said, the flashlight.
Yeah.
Some people have, I don't know if you know this, but if you have a phone, you have a flashlight because it's the flash on the device. However, if you press and hold on the phone app, you will get a stick, like a bar. And this allows you to change how bright the flashlight is. The
Really?
more up it is, the brighter it is. So if you want a flashlight, but you don't want it like really bright, you can just turn it on one bar and it's on, but it's not super bright. I use this when my wife is sleeping and I have to kind of creep into the room because there might be, my fault, there's shoes on the floor or there's a belt I didn't, I'm not suggesting it's anyone's fault but my own. But what I am suggesting is I don't want the flashlight on all the way and to bother her. So I use just the first value to turn on the flashlight. And that way it's not super bright. And I don't bother her quite as much as I normally do. So that's, and again, you also have the slider bar for volume. So you can slide up and down on volume as well. Now you're right, Jerry, you have the side buttons also.
I like that idea with the do not disturb and then just allow, you know.
Oh yeah, I think that's a
family
very
members.
it's an underutilized tool, but I think it's very powerful. And that's what I'm here for today, kind of show you I didn't
You
know
could have
that.
saved a lot of yelling at me during dinner when I had it on the other room. And
Well, Jerry, now you're good.
I like it for driving. You can put it on if you're driving and it'll alert
Absolutely.
people that you can't talk because you're driving.
Right.
That's correct. You know, you can't talk to me now, I'm driving.
Yeah, I've never been able to do it, but I've seen people that do it. I always wondered how they did it. Now I know how they do it.
I thought it's on automatically though, because every time I'm in the car.
I want to talk to that.
Okay.
The newer operating systems do turn it on automatically now, but you can override it. As you might imagine, I have a car that has something called CarPlay in it. So I attach the phone essentially like to the dashboard, and all the calls come through the stereo.
Right.
Which leads me to my next piece of the class that some people love, and I admit some people hate. And that's Siri. I will tell you that I use Siri. I see you laughing at me, Jerry, already.
I was looking at my daughter, yeah. We do a lot.
Why, what's her opinion?
Well, we use it a lot, right, Mike?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Most of your favorite old music.
We always like fact checking, stuff like that.
Yeah, look up for me, whatever.
Right.
Now, I use Siri constantly because even in my age, and I know some people are older, some people are younger, like I can't see as well as I once did. And like it's 3 or 4 screens down to do whatever. I don't want to do that. I want it to do it for me. So I tell her, and I call it her because I have a female voice. There are a couple of different ways to do this. If most commonly you hold the button down, the home button, and you say, Siri, something, something, like, hey Siri, text Iser.
What do you want to say?
How are you doing upstairs? Question mark. Is all well?
Here's your message. Ready to send it?
Send.
Okay, it's sent.
Hey Siri, what's the temperature in Washington, D.C.?
It's about 86 degrees in Washington, District of Columbia.
I don't know if you can hear that, but she did do it for me. Hey Siri, make an appointment for 3 p.m. tomorrow. Text Sharon Nagy Johnson.
I scheduled your appointment for tomorrow from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Hey Siri, tell me a joke.
What kind of dog can jump higher than a building? All of them. Buildings can't jump.
Thank you, Siri.
Welcome.
So there are a lot of features that work quite well, and all you have to do is talk to her. Now, is she perfect? No. Is she perfect out of the box? Definitely not. I probably have 200 hours with her. Like, for example, one of my very good friends, his name is Harold Porcher, but it's spelled Porcher. He's got a French, he's a Huguenot. So he has a French last name. So she used to say, do you mean Harold Porcher? No, Porcher. Porcher. So eventually she got it right. And now I can say, Hey Siri, text Harold Porcher.
What do you want to say?
I hope you are recovered enough for a Sunday run. Period. Are you feeling okay? Question mark. What's the news with Elliot? Question mark.
Here's your message. Ready to send it?
Change.
What do you want to say?
Are you going to be okay for a Sunday run? Question mark.
Here's your message. Ready to send it?
Send.
Okay, it's sent.
Hey Siri, read text.
Burst cough and said, thanks, Scara Dog. This looks like a long one. Want to reply?
No.
Okay, no other messages.
So I use Siri to automate a lot of my searching through, tapping on, typing in stuff. Even something as simple as a note. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stop here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My horse he gives his reins a shake to see if there is some mistake. He wonders why we stop here on the longest day of the year without a farmhouse near. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep. So she didn't make a single mistake here. No, she did. She said, whose woods is the czar? She did make one mistake. Now, I didn't rehearse that, by the way. So my point is that to make a call, to send a text, to route me to, if you're using your phone as your GPS, which you can do, she'll give you turn-by-turn directions. I use Siri all the time for that. Instead of having to open up the mail, for example, the Maps app, type in the address, and hit go. I just tell her, hey Siri, route me to Charles.
Getting directions to Charles Scara. Home.
Now, Charles obviously is in my contacts list. So she's calculating. Now, the part of the reason I bring this up.
Starting route to 7502 Carinian Court.
So it's going to take me 8 hours and 10 minutes to drive to North Carolina to visit my brother. However, the
Head
reason
east on West Cedar Street, then turn right onto South Livingston Avenue.
the reason why I bring this up is a new feature in Maps that I think is underutilized, and that's called Share My Location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, hit Share ETA. And I can tell it with whom do I want to share my ETA and my location.
Oh, wow.
That's
So
cool.
this way, again, it would always, like, in my world, it'd be my wife because she's the best and she'd be worried about me driving till 3 o'clock in the morning. So instead of having to constantly call me and check on me and see where I am, she'd be able to see me the whole way live to check
Wow.
on me to see where I am. Now, I don't suggest this for everybody or everything, but if you're, in my world, if I'm going to drive a long way, I can share my ETA. And
She would just have to click on the maps?
I go to Maps and I start to route myself somewhere.
Right, but say your wife, how would she access that? Looking at maps?
Yes, that's correct. In
Okay.
Maps, she would then see my car on the map.
Wow.
And I can share this with multiple people. So if I want to share this with both my wife, who I've left to go, and I can also share it with my brother to see me on my way.
Yeah.
So
I,
in this way, I'll be safe. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead,
I
Gail.
had someone use that. I didn't know what they did, but I got lost and they found me with their phone. I was in my car and they came to me. They said, just stay there. And I said, geez, I just stay right there. And it was in New York and they got to me.
Yeah.
I remember that. It was a
So-
younger person, of course.
Well, now you know how to do it, Dale. But that's
So-
exactly what I'm trying to get to. It's super helpful. If,
Yeah.
you know, again, in my world, I once had a situation where I was driving through Southwest Minnesota in the middle of the night. It was pretty harrowing. And my wife was, again, she kept calling me. Are you okay? Are you okay? It's 3 a.m. You're still driving. I'm okay. But it would have been helpful to see me still, like, oh, I'm afraid you're dead in a ditch. That's her thing. You're dead in a ditch. Yes, Susan, you don't have to raise your hand. You can just talk.
Mike, no, I didn't raise my hand.
Hold on, Jerry. Susan has something
Oh, I'm
to say.
sorry.
When I went on maps, I don't see the ETA where
Well, you
it's-
have to put in a location.
Oh,
You
okay.
have to drive somewhere.
Is that maps icon, I also have like a Google Maps.
Similar. What I'm saying is this class is focused on the iOS features.
Okay,
I'm not, Google Maps has this same tool,
okay.
and Waze, which is another third party, has their own tool. All of them have similar features. This particular one happens to be on this particular phone because I know it's going to be on every phone in the room. Whereas you might have Waze and you might have Google Maps and Louise has Waze and Jerry uses some other mapping tool. So because I know it's on all of them, I focus on the one that I know is there. But you're right, Susan. They all have this feature.
Okay.
And you can share it with whomever you want. But to
Okay.
answer Jerry's question, yeah, they need to be on the Maps tool to see your progress.
Okay.
Jerry, I interrupted you. Go ahead. Give me.
No, I'm sorry. Because I was holding my head up with my hand. I thought you thought I was waving at you. But
No, okay.
Related question.
Yeah.
And using an example of your wife, say you didn't do share ETA, but can she initiate it from her end?
No,
Oh,
you can't spy on me. Now, there are other tools you can use. I don't know if anyone has a child in their life, but the product we use is called Life 360, where it will automatically locate them for you. What some people do is they turn on iCloud for the other person's account, and it will locate the phone.
right.
Meaning that's 99% likely where they are.
Right.
That's also a little sneaky, but this particular feature I have to turn on for her to see where I am.
Okay.
I'm essentially sharing my location. She's not big brothering me, if that's
Yeah, you just have to tell the person that
if that's a
share
verb.
ETA. Yeah. Okay.
If that's a verb. To big brother someone, I don't know. You knew what I meant, so good enough.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to talk about just one or two other items in the control panel. And again, settings, and just below control center is this thing called display and brightness. So it's settings, and it's the third group down, and in my life, it's the third one. It's called display and brightness.
What is it all the time?
I have mine shifted to what's called dark mode, meaning all the backgrounds are now black with white text rather than white with black text. I find that less difficult on my eyes. It also takes less power to power it because it's not broadcasting a bright light. And last but not least, it's a bit of privacy because, again, if you're in a somewhat darkened space and you open your phone up and it shows a white light, you're going to bother people around you. So I have mine shifted to dark mode to make it more palatable for my eyeballs. A little bit below that is this thing called night shift. Night shift, and again, I'm not a doctor. I am simply reporting to you what I've read. These phones generally run on a blue-white spectrum, meaning that the light emanating from the screen is a whitish blue. And again, I'm reciting research. I'm not a researcher. That says that the brain is activated to think that it's daytime. And therefore, you have more difficulty going to sleep immediately after looking at your phone. What night shift does is it makes the coloring like sepia tone. It gives it a yellowish, brownish tint, as if it were dipped in sepia. Again, some of us are old enough to remember sepia tone movies. But that is supposedly less difficult. My father had some old, Cab Calloway movies in sepia tone. He had some Frank Sinatra movies in sepia tone, obviously showing how long ago it was. But anyway, that's how I know what it is. But the brownish, yellowish light is supposedly less taxing on your brain. So I have my night shift turned on at 10:30 in the evening. And I have it turned off at, I don't know what time, I think I have it 7 o'clock, I think. But this is another one of the features. I'm sorry, it's 10:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. You can manually turn on whatever you want. So I have it scheduled, and every day, so I have the sepia tone or the night shift turned on, and then it goes into do not disturb, and then do not disturb turns off, and the sepia tone is still on for another hour. I recommend that. It doesn't hurt you, honestly. The brightness isn't really affected too much, but heck, if I can catch an extra hour of decent sleep rather than lousy sleep, I'm okay with it. A little bit below that is this thing called text size. And this is good for people our age when your eyes are getting tired. You can go into text size and slide this slider bar to make the text bigger or smaller. So I usually keep mine kind of somewhere in the middle, a little bit to the right. But if your eyes are getting tired one night or you don't have your glasses on, you can slide everything to the right to make the text much larger. So, I mean, frankly, I haven't been to the ophthalmologist in a while. My contact lenses need updating. So I don't actually mind too much being able to just bump up the text size a little bit.
Mike, they have,
Go ahead, Susan.
it's just a connection, it's not with the phone. They have reading lights, that you clip with when you're reading, if you like a hardcover book, where it's an amber light.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about, so it makes you, it's easier to fall asleep.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that research from a couple of different locations. Again, I'm only quoting what I've read. I didn't do the research.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
Yeah. But so a couple of those, again, changing whether it's bright or dark, light mode or dark mode, night shift or not night shift, and the size of the text, I find is quite helpful. Let me go back to my handout and make sure that I'm actually covering just at least a little bit what's on my gosh darn handout. Okay, so we talked about the flashlight. We talked about the control center. Oh, there it is, talking about how to get to control center on an iPad. That's not too bad. I'm doing okay. We'll talk to photos in 1 minute. We talked about sharing the ETA. That's a good one. Oh, another feature that I kind of like inside the mapping is you can say you're in a location with which you're not familiar. What I can do here is once I start my journey, I can kind of, again, flick up from the bottom.
Starting route to 7502 Carinian Court.
Let me turn this off. And what it will do is it'll show me important landmarks that are nearby,
Then turn right
like
onto South
gas
Hampstead
stations, places to eat, other details that are nearby to me. Coffee shops, diners, gas stations, and frankly, sharing your location are probably the 3 or 4 biggest things that you would want. So it's all kind of built in from that area where you flick up from the bottom. Because heck, you're on the road, you probably want to know where the gas station is. Now, it is my guess, and I don't know this for sure, that in version 14, they're going to start showing you where the rapid chargers are. There's some talk about that because as electric vehicles become more prevalent, the town in which I live actually does have a town-sponsored rapid charging station right next to town hall. So that's the rumor in version 14 that they're going to add those kinds of additional resources in the mapping software. I wouldn't be surprised if that was so. So that's again, I'm just kind of going through my handout to make sure that I'm actually even at least a little bit on my on what I said I was going to talk about. Oh, we talked about the search feature where you pull down and you can start typing in the name. So in my example, I typed CHA. So I have, well, I was talking to my brother, Charles Scara, and then he had called me. So that was the phone message. And then I got an email. Jerry, you might be aware of this group. It's called Charity Miles. Every mile you run, they donate a quarter to the charity of your choice. So every day when I go for my run, Charity Miles donates a couple of dollars to, my charity happens to be Wounded Warriors. But the point is, CHA, everything that has CHA came up, CHAR in fact, because CHAR were parts of the word I was looking for. So that's kind of a nice feature with the search. One of the things I do want to talk to with some detail is the new photo app. The new photo app has really upped its game significantly. And I want to talk to that a little bit. So if you would, it should be like the rainbow colored flower. Mine happens to be on the top row, second from the right next to the camera. So if you could open up that guy up, that'd be great. And they have it to start organized in the way which you're familiar, just one big chronologic order. However, they've now reorganized things that you can view things in many different ways. So for example, you could view it by month. So it's the second button from the left. So you can now kind of look through by month. That way you're more easily to find things instead of having to go every shot at a time. You can say, oh yeah, that probably happened in February. Oh, I'm now going to look through the February ones.
Mike, where did you say that was?
Okay, so I'm in the phone app.
Yeah.
Like so. Across the bottom, you have some wording. So instead of all photos, all the way to the right, when I want to search for something, I typically switch to month view because I can generally remember sort of at least what month it was. So this allows me to jump pretty quickly from one group of photos to another to at least like, oh, that was, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was in January. So I can, instead of having to go through every one and eyeball it. So that's kind of a nice feature, the ability to search by month or by day or by year. So, oh yeah, 2008, we went to the ball game. 2006, boy, my little girl was pretty young then. So I like the ability to search by different ways. So this is June 2016. This is May 2016, you know, stuff like that. So that's the first icon, photos. And then above that, you have year, month, day, and the traditional all photos, all the photos with which you're familiar. Now, the next one over is called For You. And For You is essentially groupings of pictures that Siri has sort of, or the phone has sort of organized for you based on the content. So for example, I live in Livingston. So all the pictures that are based in Livingston are in one group. I go hiking a lot. I'm out in the woods a lot. So there's a group called In Nature 2013 to 2019. And they're able to tell based upon the backgrounds. I have a lot of woods and grass and sky. So they're grouping them together in that way. There's also one where my wife went and I went to Boston for a trip. So all of the Boston vacation ones got grouped together. So there's no way to really control that. It's sort of like they do it for you. Is that what your question was?
Yeah, I was going to ask if there was a way to set that up.
Not really. But there is
Using
one.
album?
But there is one. Thank you, Jerry. You're the man. There's one called albums where you can manually group things together.
Okay.
What you would do is you would do an album and it kind of tells you, you know, your videos, your selfies, your live photos, and then you can make your own albums here. Another one that I like, of course, is the search feature. Now, this is significantly improved over previous years. I don't know if you can tell this, but there's a group called People. So I'm in all the way on the right, search, and then it says People. Those are the three most important people in my life: my wife, my daughter, and my son. And what the phone is doing is using facial recognition to say, oh, I think all of these pictures are this person. And they pretty much are. And what's interesting is he doesn't look the same here as he does in that picture there. They're 10 years apart. But
Mike, how do you get to People? Because mine is showing up just places, and I typed it in under search People.
Okay, let me go back. Search, cancel that. So in my search, I have moments, and then below that I have people.
Okay, mine is just showing places.
Yeah. Perhaps, how many photos do you have here, Jerry?
Well, in what, under places?
No, just in general. Like you have a
Oh,
lot.
it's probably 30 or 40.
Yeah, I have like 3,000.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it probably hasn't indexed enough.
I see. So something that you don't set up if you don't have a
Yeah,
lot.
it kind of just does it. I have, 2,249 photos.
Okay.
And that's not even that much, frankly.
Yeah.
I take a lot of pictures at work to document stuff. And, you take 93 pictures of the same event. Like the prom was this week. So I took my daughter put on her dress and just happened to be in the backyard because, well, obviously there's no prom. There we go. That's my favorite picture.
Oh, great.
Oh, pretty.
Beautiful.
Yeah. My point is, I got a zillion pictures of just that. Or my son and I went to a concert together, and I took 74 pictures of one night.
Metallica?
Yeah, how did you know?
You said it earlier.
Oh, I did? Yeah, he's a big Metallica fan. So we went out to State College where they were playing. I like them a lot too, don't get me wrong, but he's Dad, can we go? I'm like, all right, we'll drive, whatever. Made a night, an overnight of it. It was fun. Anyway,
Excuse me, Mike,
yeah, go ahead.
when you have under people, it says on mine, a named person. It has a few different people that let's say, are close to me, but I guess from looking at pictures, it pulls those
That's
people.
correct.
Can you set it to other people? Like,
Can you add a person?
yeah.
Like you're asking. I believe you can. Let me make sure if that's true. Let me go back.
Oh,
It's okay. Let me see. Yeah, it's just giving me unnamed person.
Yeah, because I was thinking like it's showing me my sister-in-law, which I love her very much, and she's in a lot of pictures, but if I wanted to, let's say, put my brother or something, how do I didn't know if you could sync the phone that way.
Yeah, I don't honestly see a way. You know what I'm going to do, Susan? I'm going to look that up because that's something that I would like to know how to do too, honestly. I didn't think of that. So I'm going to figure that out and I'll send it out to everybody.
great.
Okay,
Because,
that'd
for example, all the way to the right, there's a person called unnamed person. That's the same
Yeah.
kid. That's my son again.
Yeah.
Right.
How do I get him into the other pictures of him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, oh, I'll say that, oh yeah, in fact, there we are at the show. So how do I get that person to be, oh, there it is. It says add a name.
Oh,
I
Okay.
hit on the three little dots and I hit no name and I just type over.
which three little dots? I'm sorry.
That's okay. So it says here there are additional pictures of this person. It says no name. This little circle, blue circle with the dots, you can say that person, and then where it says edit, you can add this person. So I'm going to confirm additional photos, but I don't know how to name the person. So what I'm going to do is I will figure out how to name them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's just do that.
big ice cream cone. So I got to figure out how to do that. Thank you for that. I will figure out how to make that happen.
Is there a certain minimum, like to get, if I have places only, and say I got 60 photos here, because I end up deleting photos so that, and I put them in albums when I have, but I would keep more photos if I'm able to add people. So is it like a certain amount of photos you need before they automatically categorize them? And
Honestly, I don't know that.
okay.
For example, my old boss is in here. It says like there's two pictures of her. I mean, she's a lovely person. Oh, here it is. So I tap on the word add name, and then I can say Judy.
And where did you get to add name?
I tap. So let me go back. So I have this thing called unnamed person, right? So these people have no names, right?
Right.
So I tap on the thing.
And I'm sorry, was that under albums? What I've
Oh, it's just again, I'm search under
photo search?
There's my second group down is called people.
Which we don't have.
Yeah.
So some of the people are named. There's Eileen, there's Julian, there's Matthew, there's Mike, and now there's Judy. So this dude right here in the middle with the tie on, that's Rob.
Okay.
That's a coworker. So I tap on the picture, and it currently has no name. So I'm going to scroll down, and it says unnamed person. So I tap on that, and then at the very top it says big blue letters, add a name. So I tap right on the words, add a name.
Right.
And then I type in Rob Nixon.
But if you don't have the category people, how do you add a name?
I think you need pictures. I don't think 30 or 40 is going to do it.
Okay. I'll get 60. But I have to get to
Or
like
60. Again, I have like 2,200.
Yeah,
And mine isn't really that
I-
much, frankly.
but how do you just then, let's say, okay, now people, I see now,
So
now I got,
yeah,
yeah.
now
okay.
Rob has a name.
Yeah, and also my brother's in the people list now.
Good. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Now,
thank
Susan,
you.
how many pictures do you have?
Me, I
Can't have
never
2,000.
counted them. I'd
Well,
say
you don't
500.
have
Is it
to
in-
count. What you do is you go to photos, first album,
Oh,
then all photos, and then you scroll to the very bottom.
I have 3,000.
There you go.
Wow.
oh, I have, well, 420 something live photo.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I have 900.
yeah. And then frankly, Jerry, mine isn't really that much.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I got friends of like, 9,000, 10,000, 17,000.
Where do you see the number of,
I scroll to the very, very bottom. I go to
Right.
photos,
oh, I
all
got it.
photos.
Yep. I got
And I
60
scroll-
photos. Yep.
Yeah.
2 videos. Okay, so I have to get a couple of hundred.
Yeah, I
Very
have 22, 49, and 104 videos. What the hell do I have in here? That's part of the problem. You know, 6 months
Old
ago,
girlfriend.
no, do not say that. Jerry, I'm gonna hang up on you. You say it again.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna do that. Frankly, I do not have I've said it to my wife a million times. I am far too cheap, and I have no time to have a girl on the side. There's no possible way. It's way too expensive.
That's right.
Besides, I'm 49 years old. I don't, I can't even do that. Anyway, so there's a million pictures I could probably delete in here because at the time they seemed important. Like, okay, empty seats at the ball game. Why would I want that picture? Like that. Silly.
I'm gonna have it again.
I don't know, but there's always a million pictures you can get rid of.
Right.
I don't know. Anyway, so this is the part of the program where I say, hey, we're getting a little close on time. Is there anything that I didn't cover yet that now that we've been here for a while, you're thinking, oh, I need to ask him whatever, because, well,
Yes,
we're getting close. Yeah, Susan, go ahead.
you're on photos. I sometimes, I just can take a photo, but I don't seem to know how to use the features of it.
Oh, let's talk about editing pictures.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm in a picture. I'm going to ask you to pick any photo in your photo library. Oh, this is a good one. My son doing virtual reality. Someone had let me borrow a VR headset, and we were going through famous art museums of the world.
Oh.
So I think we were in Orsay right now, whatever. Okay, so here I am. I got a picture. And in the upper right-hand corner, I have a word that says edit.
Mhm.
And sometimes this takes a little while for it to load, but you have a whole bunch of buttons. You got 3 and then 3 below that.
Mhm.
So the very first one I'm going to go to is in the bottom right corner. It looks like 2 L-shaped rulers that have like rotational circles around them. And that's called crop and rotate. So I'm going to tap on that guy. And what the computer will do is it will try to automatically straighten the picture. So it's at a nice 90-degree angle. In the corners, you have little L-shaped handles. And if I want to get rid of the excess on the sides, I drag in on a handle like that.
Oh, how cool.
And that will crop out
Oh,
edges.
yeah.
So that allows you to really just get into the meat of the picture.
Mhm.
Also, in the upper right-hand corner, you have the ability to flip it left and right. It looks like a pyramid. You can flip it,
God, yes.
and you have a square that has like an arrow, like a circle, like a round arrow that allows you to rotate it 90 degrees.
Mhm.
Yeah. And of course, if you do it 4 times, it brings it back to where it was. So those are how to crop and rotate. So that's the L-shaped button, the L-shaped circles all the way to the right. That's crop and straighten. The next one over, it looks sort of like 3 circles in a Venn diagram. And those are called filters. And you can slide across each filter to get what's called a preset. So vivid cool, dramatic, dramatic warm. They add or reduce various lighting effects. So if you're in a room, for example, this particular room has very beige walls, and that's actually what it looks like. But if you want to kind of change the feel a little bit and make it more of a white tone, you can just change it to vivid cool, for example. So a lot of people.
What button is that, Mike? I'm sorry.
That's let me sorry about. It's the center one across the bottom. Looks like 3 circles in a Venn diagram. So you have the ability to do what are called, these are called presets. They do the same features. Not, you don't do it by hand. It kind of does it over and by, like this is how, these are settings. You can, a lot of teams, these are called filters. Now, the next one over is got like a radio, like a dial, like on a stereo, like it's, like the volume control. And then when you hit on the volume control, you then have a whole bunch of buttons across the middle, just below the picture. And that are things like affecting the exposure or the brilliance or the highlights or the shadows. And you have a lot more granular control here. So if a picture is quite dark, you could pick the like the darkest areas, the shadows, and brighten them. So just the dark spaces brighten up. Or if a picture is a little overexposed, you can take the highlights and make them darker. So the things that are usually washed out in a picture become less so. So like if you're at the beach and there's a lot of glare off the sand, you can simply darken those overexposed sections and make the picture more balanced. So this feature is not presets. This takes a lot more doing. This is a lot more trial and error. But like I said, they've really upped their game in the image editing tools that allow you some fancy features. Now, there's one more thing I forgot to mention in the pictures. We have the camera, and we all know about camera. But one I really, really like is this feature called slow-mo.
Yes.
Where you can take video, but it slows everything down. And another one I really like is called time-lapse, where it will take a picture every 45 seconds or 3 minutes or 6 minutes. And what it will do is it'll do a time-lapse video. It'll stitch all those pictures together into a single video. So I did an event, it was called the Backyard 50K, where I ran 50 kilometers in my backyard. It took me 7 hours. Because every 8 steps I had to make a turn. And it crushed the whole thing down to 32 seconds. So I used the time-lapse feature. Again, you don't use it a lot. One other feature that I like is called Pano. Again, that's panoramic images. So what you do is you can set it up so it goes, like you kind of pull it in a circle and it makes one really wide panoramic. You gotta go pretty slowly, but it will make one wide panoramic image that is kind of a neat effect. So here's an example of a panoramic picture This is my son and me canoeing. So that's,
Wow.
Delaware River?
I think this is the Lehigh, actually.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we go there. It's either one or the other every summer. This particular year, I think it was the Lehigh. It might have been the Delaware, though. It's hard, all the years kind of blend together.
Looks it, yeah.
The point is that, again, in this particular case, it worked. A panel made sense. You don't do panels all the time. But, you're on a vacation somewhere, you're at a ruin, you're at a building, you're at the U.S. Capitol, whatever, and you want to do the whole thing in one picture,
Okay.
you kind of can. So they've really kind of upped their game in the camera, but really the photo editing tools have really been significantly improved. So I kind of like that functionality. And you can do the same thing you've always done. You can email, you can text, you can airdrop. The sharing is all the same, but the edit feature is up. Anything else?
I have a question.
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Louise. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No.
I'm wondering, I don't have my phone and iPad synced as yet.
Okay.
Obviously, after we finish, I'm gonna
All
do
right.
that.
Yeah.
And now, all my photos are really on my phone. There's only a couple on my iPad. Once I set up iCloud, will the pictures from my phone automatically be available on my iPad?
If you go, I remember I showed you where iCloud was.
Yeah.
If you have the slider bar turned on to yes for photos, it will synchronize.
Perfect.
If you don't want that, you leave it off.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
That's where I was trying to get to. Each one of them can synchronize with each other. So if you want photos in one big group, you would turn synchronize on. If you don't, you won't.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Mike, I just had a question. Do you think you could just tell me how to post an article to LinkedIn? I have a LinkedIn
Absolutely.
page, and I just want to, if you give me the steps, I'm sure I could kind of figure it out.
Okay. What I will do, Dale, is it's hard. That's very difficult to show on screen because
Okay.
honestly, I'm going to have to install the LinkedIn app. I
Okay.
will either find an article or I will make a short movie for you to do it.
Or just give me the steps when you could send me an email with like the steps.
I sure will.
Okay. I have the link on the phone. I know LinkedIn, it says post, but when I hit the post, I don't know how to get into the phone to post it. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'll
I'm
make
missing
sure
something.
I understand completely. I will get the app on my phone and I will send you directions on how to do it, Dale.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, friends, this was a ton of fun. Before we go, though, what I want to do is again, you probably have it already because I kind of sent you stuff, but don't feel weird. If you've got a question, people have been emailing me. I've been doing this for a long, long time, since 1997, and people are like, hey, I was in your class in 2002. It's fine. Don't feel weird. You can email me. It's mike.scara@gmail.com. That's super easy to remember. And don't worry about it. I might not get to you today or tomorrow, but I'll get to you back. I'll get back to you. I promise.
Now, Mike, you said would you be nice enough to send a recording of this?
Oh, sure. As soon as I'm done, this is
Right.
recording. It's been recording the whole time. I'll post
good.
it. I'll post it to my YouTube channel and I'll send you all the link to it.
Great, yeah, because I've been referencing the one you did on Zoom hosting, and I
Wow.
actually did one.
All right. I feel better about myself. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Good. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Mike,
Thank
one
you.
last
This
thing.
is
Again,
great.
another time.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Mike, one last